So I just had this thought in my head, and I wanted to get it out because journaling's too slow. But it's just thought that or the word I've come up with, that numbers are generated by capitalists to create more slaves. And what do I mean by that? I mean that every time you get graded by someone or given a numeric value by someone, you are, by looking at that number and interpreting that number as yourself, you become a slave to that number and that system. One of the most common examples for this are exams. You get into an exam, and after that you're graded on your score. Now, this doesn't seem like a bad system, but for knowledge that is interpreted, so like literature, if you have a piece of writing and you write it, and if you get graded on that piece of writing, then you are like, even if you've done everything correctly, spelled everything correctly, like no wrong things in that type of essay sort. But for your ideas, because of saying your ideas in a certain way, you get graded, and this is wrong. Or like, also that's most common nowadays, is basically grading people out of 10. When I mean grading people, like people say, alright, give me a number out of 10 and like rate this person or something, grade this person. And it's like, it's honestly sickening. It's honestly just sickening to see someone like tell a person's worth by a number, or even like people do this for themselves. I think this is for like most common people. We just say, alright, this guy is the best, this guy is top number 1 or something, I'm gonna become the 0.1% person, I'm gonna become this, I'm gonna become that, I'm gonna become better than this guy, I'm gonna become better than the top 10, stuff like that. I honestly shouldn't be walking by these streets, like, anyways, like, because when you say something like that, when you say, alright, this is my grade, this is your grade, something, like, you miss out on a lot of things about that person, and like, it isn't efficient or optimized for the further exploration and movement of society. But like, going back to the main topic, it's like generated by capitalists to create more slaves. When you get into that system, it basically means, alright, and if you go further into that system, you're gonna become a slave onto becoming more of a slave, becoming more and more, trying to get better, climb up the ladder. And like, after a while, you realize those numbers are just controlled by a few couple of guys. Like, this is for like money, taxes, stocks. It's just a bunch of numbers going up and down every single day, and you have no control over it. You don't. And it's sickening to just like look at that, hear that, and be in that system. It basically devalues you as a human. And just And it just isn't good for the greater movement of humanity. Because as a bystander, or as something that the system extra does, because you get slaved into that system, you stop producing and you start consuming. And when you start consuming and stop producing, that's when you get completely dependent on that system. Because after a few generations, you lose the ability to generate and produce. And because you can't produce your own stuff, you have to depend on others, you have to depend on the system. And when everybody's in the system, it becomes really, really hard to be independent of that. Now, you can do that, you can get independent of the system. And it gives you great value. Gives you great value and independence, which is good. You might try to make something better than that system, but I've started realizing some stuff as a software engineer, especially. It's like when I see a product and I see it's like $60 a month or something, or anything, it's like a subscription service, I say, well, why am I paying for this? I can just make it myself. I can, but that takes a huge amount of time. And that time is more valuable to me. So I don't think completely getting out of the system isn't that productive also. It's about getting the benefits of that system, but being untouchable, not untouchable, but being not being affected by that system. I couldn't quite find the word, but if you stop being affected by the system and still be able to get the benefits of that would be the best. And I mean, you should still be able to produce, generate stuff. You should be able to produce stuff. But if you can still get the products of the system and be unaged, be unaffected by that system, it will be much more effective and better for the movement of humanity. Obviously, I made no script for this, so I'm just mumbling. But if you get what I mean, I should be able to better word my sentences. But basically making yourself dependent on a number, on a value that can be changed by others isn't sufficient and isn't healthy. That is my point. That's all.